Play it.
Play it.
Just the first like minute.
Yeah.
And here we are. This is the beginning to a wonderful, hopefully wonderful adventure. The Hush crew.
It's always wonderful, buddy.
Is getting ready to partake in.
Are you using Liberty Mutual's coverage customizer?
Whoa. Dang, Facebook or YouTube.
On ads in there already.
Colorado for the third season for deer. And we have 2 trucks loaded down. Look at this. Eric has 3 coolers, 3 Yetis, 4 Yetis in the back of his truck. That's all he's taking. I told you this guy likes to eat food, dude.
They're
But
gonna be full when we come back.
yeah,
They're gonna be full of deer meat.
they're empty. So
I need some.
we're going to hunt Colorado for like a week, and then Eric's actually going to bounce a couple days early and go help his good friend. He has a late season elk tag down on the Southwest desert. So sucks we have to drive separate, but we'll make it down there. Okay, we'll be okay, right?
I'll make it.
We'll stop. Great.
Maybe you can switch and ride with me for a while.
I was gonna ride with you, but you had all that stuff in there. Okay, I'll ride with you. So yeah, Brian, he's inside saying bye to his wife. No, he's not coming. So anyways, what we want to tell you guys is you got to follow along on this channel for the next 7 days, because we are going to, I guess as close as you could, live stream a hunt. We are going to upload the day's activities every day. So we're getting down, today's Thursday. We'll get down there tonight. I don't think we'll have time to scout, but we'll upload this video tomorrow, and it'll just be a day behind. We'll cut the videos when we get back to the hotel.
That's a good teaser. Well, people at home, folks at home, welcome back to the Hushlife, the podcast. This is episode number 22. If you recognize that clip that Eric just played, you've been following along with us for a while. That video was uploaded October 30th, 2015. And that's kind of where we had the idea to try and do a semi-live hunt. So what our idea was we were going to go on this hunt. We were going to record every day. And then that night we were going to edit that video and upload that video for the next day. So the idea was that you guys would kind of be there with us. It would be a day behind or a day lag, but we liked the idea of you guys kind of going through the hunt with us as quickly or as timely as we could make it, which usually was the next day when we got uploaded. What were your thoughts on the semi-live series, Eric, the first time we did it?
Well, going into it, like, I love the idea, because I just thought from outside perspective is like, yeah, I would love that if somebody did that and provided a daily account of what they were doing day by day, so close to the actual day. Because, typically we always fall back on this, is like hunting content back in the days where it was always on TV. It was sometimes a year old footage that you're watching on TV that they shot in the previous fall. So yeah, I thought it was just such a cool idea. It was early on in our partnership with all of us, and I thought it would definitely be something different that people can follow along with. And man, people loved it.
Yeah, I think it was received really well. I'm trying to think what even happened on that hunt. I think we were down there for like 7 days or something. You killed a buck, I believe, the first couple days.
I know I missed a real nice buck.
Oh,
that happened. That wasn't awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that just, okay, now I remember what happened. Brian, me and Eric had hunted that unit the year before, and we had actually saw this deer. And then the next year, Brian came with us, and he got on him, I think, first day, and took a couple pokes at him and missed him. And then
heartbreaker.
Yeah, and then that's the year we saw the giant, right?
Yeah, we got good snow that year, which is always nice on a rifle hunt.
But yeah, so that was where we released the semi-live series. And like Eric said, everyone really liked it. People really liked following along at home. I remember reading comments, that first year, and people were just couldn't wait for the next day at 5 p.m. when the next video was going to be uploaded. And it's kind of like shaped kind of how we show a lot of our content today. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Yeah, I think it had a big impact on our channel and many others, moving forward to like that series style YouTube channel, whether it was a daily series of elk hunting, or, you know, how we launched our best season yet, I think it all started with the semi-live series.
Yeah,
It's
because
been,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's interesting how the way you consume content has changed so much, even in the last 5 or 6 years. And to Eric's point, you know, when we were all growing up watching outdoor television, the Sportsman's Channel, they're 22-minute episodes. They're obviously extremely edited. Most of the time, they're only showing the successful portions of the hunt because they're limited on time, and then there's a lot of red tape within, you know, participating in the network. So to start with, if we were ever to want to start a TV show, which will never happen, we would have had to pony up several $100,000 just to start a show, just to even get on the news. So anybody can have a hunting show if you got the cash. So you got to pony up a couple $100,000, and then you got to hope you can sell ad space against what you just invested for that hunting channel to try to recoup some of your costs. So that's why when you're watching outdoor television, you're seeing just so many ads, plugins. They got things called billboards and all these like other ways companies can buy ad space, from product shout outs to you name it. So it's not that organic or authentic. It's very much because of business reasons, right? Because if you're a host of a television show and you just spent 300 grand to get on TV, you're trying to at least try to break even at a minimum, right? And maybe make a couple bucks. So most of that content that we all consumed, not only was it 22 minutes, highly produced, highly edited, highly skewed towards success, didn't necessarily show many failures. And a lot of that's due to the network telling people that have shows, you are only allowed to have X amount of episodes in your season that are not successful, which is a whole nother ball of wax. But that's kind of like the premise of what we grew up on. And within that, you know, I think people grew tired of that type of viewing. And the content was all at a minimum 12 months old. There's just no possible way they could turn anything near as fast. So people would go out, shoot, do their hunt, shoot all this stuff for, let's say, fall of 2015, but you would never even see it on television until some point in time in 2016. And depending on your cycle of schedules as a television show, you would launch in different quarters, and then the network would determine like different time parameters and slots of where you found yourself. So if the network had a really great relationship with you, or they viewed you as like an up and comer or kind of an iconic brand, like maybe Jim Shockey or Leah Tiffany or people like that, you know, chances are you're going to have a pretty good television slot. Everybody wants prime time, probably on the Thursday or the Sunday when folks are watching a lot of outdoor television. But unfortunately, because there is so many shows, a lot of new folks or maybe Western hunters that didn't have near as much reach or presence on outdoor TV would get slotted into like the Wednesday at 3 a.m. And so it's like such a different way to view outdoor content comparatively to where we are today. And I think YouTube has been a massive game changer. All digital outlets have been a huge game changer because it's more realistic, it's more real time. I know one of the things we were passionate about from the beginning was just trying to show things truthfully how they happened. And at times, you know, it's crappy to share because it sucks. You don't want to get ridiculed online, but the reality is a lot of people deal with setbacks and challenges and mistakes and errors and misses and, you know, poor decisions in the moment and things of that nature. And so that was a big differentiating factor, you know, as more people started sharing stuff digitally. And then you look at like the transformation of how content was even consumed on YouTube. And there's a whole host of different styles, right? Like I think out of the gate, everybody was used to seeing like the really polished, highly cinematic hunting films that were maybe 20 to 30 minutes long, very edited. So similar to a TV show, just now shared on a computer of some sort, you know, and then from that, I think our channel had influence in the essence of we did more things similar to Casey's family and his style of vlog, where it was very raw, extremely unedited, but also quite personable and relatable. And it seemed to gravitate in the hunting space in a unique way that we thought it would work just based on looking at like the way mainstream YouTube had been seeing success with that kind of style of shooting and editing, but we weren't totally sure. But I think that's where we just tried it out. And so out of the gate, you know, we had a pretty strong presence of just kind of like vlog style, you know, and those videos were just, the first ones were kind of just a little bit of everything. Like we didn't really have like an objective of this is the way our brand is going to be portrayed out there. We just kind of rolled with it. And then you look at, you know, the semi-live component of that, which has its own parameters and challenges because there's just not a lot of places you hunt where you even have any kind of cell service, let alone Wi-Fi to try to like do this process. And we'll kind of get into the details of the complexities of that. And then you look at like the more standalone videos, right? Where it's maybe like a really longer format, like kind of like the Hushlife the movie, where it's an hour and a half style that's being consumed. So I'm always really curious, and it ebbs and flows, it changes. We've seen obviously like the land of the freestyle, very series oriented, the best season yet, very much series oriented. Destination Elk, there's a whole host of them. Hunting Public Steer Tour, where it's almost, if not a daily, a multiple times per week upload, and it's extended over a really long period of time. So I'm always really curious from the consumer, from the audience, from just somebody that wants to watch these type of videos, whether it's our channel or someone else's, what is the idealistic way to consume content? Because I can tell you personally, while I love the daily semi-live style or just a series episodic stuff, it gets overwhelming when you have like a lot of content over a lot of period of time. So it's harder to keep up with things versus maybe those longer form ones where you can truly sit down and, you know, enjoy like a 45-minute to an hour and a half long video. So I'm curious, those of you guys listening, let us know if it's through YouTube, leave a comment, or if it's just an audio version, shoot us either a direct message on Instagram, or even send us an email at, you can send us an email at questions@gethushing.com. Let us know, like, what style do you prefer? Like a lot of stuff daily that's maybe 15 to 35 minutes, or the longer form, you know, 40 to 90-minute versions that kind of maybe would encapsulate like an entire hunt into one video.
Yeah, so I think the two you're talking about is obviously the semi-live series. If you guys haven't watched it, go check one out. I think we've done it for like 3 or 4, at least 4 years, I would assume.
Yeah.
Go watch one of those series compared to like one of our longer films that we did. Hushlife the movie is a great one. That's a longer formed piece that we did a few years ago in New Mexico. But getting back to your point of vlogging and why that did so well, I think for me anyway, like going back to when I was a kid, I was big into like music, right? Like I loved Green Day, was one of my favorite bands. You could always watch like a concert of theirs, or you could watch a music video on MTV when they used to do that stuff on MTV. But I always wanted to see like the things you weren't supposed to see. Like I wanted to see what those guys were really like in real life, like on the tour bus or whatever, you know. And they came out with this movie or this documentary about Green Day, and it was basically them like showing you everything you weren't supposed to see, the behind the scenes stuff. And I was so intrigued by that. And so I think I compare that a lot to the vlogging stuff. I think, you know, a longer form, like a 22-minute TV show is just showing that personality hunting. But when we do like our longer series, we kind of show everything. We show like back at camp, we show getting ready for the hunt. I mean, we show from A to Z, and I think people like that. But yeah, to your point, Brian, I think I like both styles of what we've been able to do. I like the longer or the series because it's more storytelling every day. And then I like the longer polished up videos. And I think we're not getting away from either of that. I think what we've decided to do this year is a little bit of both. But let us know, like Brian said, let us know what you guys want to see and what you're into.
I remember when we did the Meat Eater podcast with Steve Ranella many years ago. It was their episode 15, so quite early on in their podcasting ventures. And that was like a point of contention and debate, was stylistically how to show stuff, because they're coming from the television world. So in their mind, you never break the fourth wall. So if you can imagine looking forward, you have the first wall or plane is what you see directly in front of you. Your peripherals on your right and your left would be like your second and your third wall. And then the fourth wall would be essentially from your point of vision backwards. And so they were adamant about never breaking that fourth wall, which I would say is the case with many TV shows back in the day, hunting or otherwise. And that's essentially like the concept that there is no camera person, right? You're just seeing this movie from this lens, and there's no human actually running it. And we were obviously the different. We literally like turned the camera around, immediately broke the fourth wall, and hey, we are the actual person holding the camera. Or you know, if we had somebody helping us, you know, we often include the camera individual as part of the story because in our mind it was real and it was there. But it's been super interesting, obviously, to see that part of it change too, where people are way more apt at kind of showing the folks that are out on the hunt aside from just the hunter. And you know, in the case of the guys at the Meat Eater, they've got a fairly sizable crew of folks that are running around and helping capture kind of the way that they've done it. And they've certainly changed over the years too. But that was always kind of a funny point of debate back then. And just to see how that's kind of transpired and changed over the years is interesting. I mean, Randy Newberg is another great example, really tried and true TV guy. And that same year in 2015, when we did the Meat Eater podcast, or it might've been 2016 in the summer, we also stopped at Randy's house. He lives in Bozeman, and he was really picking our brains about YouTube and wanting to know more about it. He was starting to get kind of just like tired of television and the network red tape and things like that. And so he was really curious about the digital space. And at the time, he didn't really have much of a presence, but he had enough foresight, particularly as maybe a little bit of an older gentleman in the space, to wanting to learn about it. So we went over there and we literally went up to the Randy room, his kind of man room. And we, you know, I think it was Eric and Casey jumped on his laptop, or might have been probably not a laptop, probably a desktop, and like helped literally set up his YouTube channel in 2016. And in Randy's mind, it was all part of a bigger plan. You know, he was going to be building this concept of going digital, all while continuing with the networks. And so he did a really wise job of, you know, his own business model, how he transitioned. He saw the future and he saw like the flexibility he could have that he didn't have with television, but he knew that it would take some time to kind of develop that library of content and to have a little bit of presence. So probably not long after we set up his channel, he started slowly moving archived footage from his TV show over into the YouTube library and building that up. And then, you know, it took him a few years, but he eventually parted ways with the television networks. And now you look at him, and he's freaking crushing on digital. And talk about a guy that just absolutely ran with the concept and, you know, took the advice and some of the suggestions we had and just ran with it, and has crushed it so well. It's cool to see.
It's his his style has changed so much. Like his camera guys have become just such huge personalities on the channel now. Like Michael and Marcus are, you know, they have sometimes their own series going on the channel, man. I think it's way cool. But yeah, so 2015 we will launch semi-live series, and we did it on that hunt because it was the hunt, like Brian said, we were in a hotel because it was a late season hunt. We knew we were going to have internet, so we knew it was possible. So walk us through, Eric, of how it had to go down for us to make this work.
Yeah, that's what made it challenging. We knew we had our work cut out for us, but I think it was like the first night where we're like, dude, this is a lot of work. So for those who can just imagine, there's 3 of us packing our 3 different cameras. And sometimes in addition to that, we have our cell phones, and we're capturing content through our spotting scopes. So you do a full day of hunting, which is a lot of work in itself. You know, hiking out there, we're hunting public land, we're playing the boundary games, we're doing everything we can to find deer. And after a long day of hunting, which was cold, that year was a lot of snow, we'd come back to the hotel at night to transfer all the footage and organize all the footage, and then cut, edit all that footage before you go to bed, and then in hopes that when you wake up, that after you exported the video, that it would be uploaded to YouTube without any issues. Which, I mean, in our experience, all the stuff we've done over the years, you can never count on hotel Wi-Fi.
No, it's very typical Wi-Fi that you would find in a small town in Colorado. So I remember the one thing we did have going for us was, I think like 2 days in, we hit daylight savings time. And so it was getting dark at like 5 o'clock. So we did have a little extra time to do it, but that means it's getting light earlier. Anyway, so yeah, there was, we would get it all cut, drop all the footage to a computer. We'd cut, get it, finalized. And then we'd start uploading it when we went to bed. And hopefully it was uploaded by the time we woke up to go hunting the next day. And sometimes it wasn't. And I remember there was a few days that one of us had to run back and check on the upload to make sure it was going to be up by 5, So that was interesting. I think that was before we ever had any camera guys. And so
yeah, that was just us plugging away, doing our thing, and made it really fun throughout the days because you would get everybody's perspective, whether BMAC was over on a ridge, glassing across the canyon where I was. So at a lot of times the interactions between us all connected. And so you had these 3 perspectives that in some way would always intermingle with each other. And it just made it really fun for the followers, because as soon as we started launching the videos day by day, we started getting those comments like, man, I'm glued to this. And now, like you would experience in like maybe a TV series, like a television TV show, is when the episode would end, it leaves you like, well, what happens tomorrow? Because they just found a buck. So I just want to point out a few like pivotal moments that I remember on season 1. So first off, deciding to do the semi-live and committing to it for the first time with not knowing what to expect, like literally just winging it from the day we left. We found a good buck before the season opened. I think that was the buck that Brian went after. Opening day, I had a really close call at first light, first 10 minutes of daylight that I missed an opportunity on and was just feeling a little rushed, like, do I want to shoot that buck or not? Another cool thing in that series was helping the 15-year-old shoot his first buck. That was a complete stranger I ran into on the mountain. We can dive into some of these stories. But sharing everything from the footage we're seeing, the bucks we're seeing, to the campfires midday and just, sitting around eating snacks. But we saw a giant on that, a missed opportunity with Brian's buck. We saw one of the biggest deer I've ever seen in my life. And then it's cool because we had all these hardships through the hunt, and just towards the end of the hunt, Casey and I were able to tag out on good bucks. So that
you missed one of the most pivotal things that happened in that hunt. You remember what I'm talking about? I think it was like day 2 or 3 by the fire, what we did.
Was that the year we did the mean tweet or whatever?
I think it was. I think that's the year we read mean comments about us.
Yeah, so that was picking up traction across social media and some TV shows.
Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel's mean tweets.
Yeah.
So we sat there and we're like, guys, we gotta, one of these, what are we gonna do one of these middays that we have nothing to do? And it's like, let's read some mean comments. And we started all just sifting through some of the comments that we were receiving on our videos. And oh man, we read some of those, and there's still the one to this day that just, you can't help but crack up. But someone, how did he word the one?
Dick old hillbilly.
All this dick old hillbillies.
I was like, what does that even mean?
Oh man.
that was a pretty funny one. I think the other cool part about it too, and I know this has come up, plenty of times from people that have watched over the years and have enjoyed the content, is it was the 3 of us hanging out, and there's that level of camaraderie and teamwork and stuff that I think people gravitated towards. And a lot of folks who go out hunting have a tendency to do it with great friends or family. And, there's that level of relationship that, to Eric's point, when we're all out there kind of trying to help each other out, and obviously sometimes we're in different areas or on different ridges, but we're always circling back. And, if somebody got a deer, obviously we'd rally the troops and go help the process. I think there's a component to that. And as we've, continued to like evolve in our space and our channel, one of the areas that we've probably struggled in is if we're always the three of us always together all the time, and now you layer in Logan and Martin or Matt now, then we're not going to be able to capture near as much stuff. That's just the reality, right? Like we can't all have 3 tags on every single hunt and expect it to go well. So we've kind of divided and conquered. So oftentimes we're on different hunts with different tags, doing different stuff, but collectively towards the best season yet, programming at the end of the year, we just have that much more to share. And a lot of that stuff has been great, certainly, but I think the component that sometimes we miss is we're not always hanging out together, sharing in these moments like we maybe did right out of the gate. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that's changed over the years. And it's for no other reason than simply trying to get more things to share. That's really it. But we feel it, we hear it. And I think, we have some hopes and aspirations to do some different things maybe this year to kind of circle the wagons back to the good old days, if you will.
Yeah, I think for me, like Eric said earlier, like you guys at home, like as soon as we started releasing these day-to-day series, you guys loved it, and we got a lot of feedback. I think it's probably one of the number one comments we get when we're at a show or something. A lot of people come up and really talk about our semi-live series from Colorado. And so it's something we've always, we've done for, like I said, 4 or 5 years. I can't remember for sure. And then, that kind of spawned how we were going to show the best season yet. The first year we did that was, our idea there was just do a semi-live series, but do a semi-live series for the whole entire hunting season. And so we agreed that every day we were in charge of filming ourselves, no matter where we were at. Eric might have been on an elk hunt, in Utah, Brian might have been antelope hunting, and I was at home getting ready for a hunt. But our idea was to kind of just show you guys the whole season and how it all how it's all going to get laid out. And I think a lot of people enjoyed it. We had a lot of not negative comments, but a lot of people didn't like to see everything that happened, like when I'm at home preparing dinner or something like that. So we kind of adjusted that for Best Season Yet 2.0 the next year, and we showed a lot of just the hunting stuff, right? And so this year's best, well, we're trying to decide how we're going to show this year, but we're trying to take in all considerations of how you guys like to consume it. Logan thinks we should just show kill shots this year. What do you guys think?
I think there's a big audience of people that would probably love that.
Yeah.
On certain platforms, but I don't know. To me, it misses the dynamics of why we all enjoy being out there, right? Like,
yeah,
that's a piece of it, but it isn't all of it.
I think, yeah. So here's my perspective from someone who does consume and enjoys to consume a lot of content. When I'm sifting through YouTube videos, if I come across a video that I don't know the person or the channel, it's an unfamiliar channel, I tend to most likely skip till the areas I want, which may be the stock, the shot, how did they get so close to that deer? If it was an archery hunt, I want to find that out. The people that I follow that I know the person, I like to watch the full video because I know them, I trust them. I have some type of connection with them. So when I think about our content being out there, I think the core audience who follows us, who knows us, who, feels like they have a friendship or some sort of relationship with us, I think they prefer more of the story. I think if a video just happens to show up in someone's feed, there's a good chance that they may see a kill shot, hey, big buck down, click on it, see that it's 25 minutes, skip. But eventually, if those people continue to see our content, they'll eventually become someone who knows us, understands our channel, and has a better chance of watching through. So I get it. Sometimes I watch videos, I'm like, there was no hunt in that. So I can totally see how someone can not know us, land on our channel and be like, what? That was no hunt. That was hanging out at the camp and spotting. So it's this constant battle. I think we just always have to fall back on as much as I love to get feedback from people, and it does help shift the content we create, we got to do what we love. We got to put out the content that we like. And personally, I like the story. I want someone to be able to understand how much hard work got to that point, or like what put me in position to even get to that point of the kill. So yeah, it's a hot topic. Like, how do we create content?
Yeah, I mean, I go back and forth. I like the series because you really get to see what goes into a hunt, and I think that's a lot of feedback we get too. Is like, thank you guys for showing exactly how it happened, because anybody that's hunted long enough knows there's ups and downs, and we always say it's a roller coaster ride. There's the highs and the lows, and when we show a whole hunt through a series like that, it really portrays exactly what that hunt entailed. But I also like a really nice polished piece, and I think Matty Ice had a pretty killer plan. If when he came onto the team, this year, Matty consumes a lot of content. He consumes podcasts, he watches a lot of YouTube videos, but his idea was, and he was a viewer of ours before he ever joined our team, and so he had a lot of good feedback with having an outside perspective. But his idea was, a little bit of both. If you go on a hunt, you should definitely film like behind the scenes stuff, and put that into a vlog series or into a vlog form, and then you have a really good polished piece that kind of shows the whole story. And I even had the idea to get a little step further, do those two things, plus then you throw a podcast on the end of it, really diving into maybe the whole trip. And that's kind of what I did. If you guys watched earlier, I did a spring bear hunt with the Weatherby guys and Ben O'Brien from Meat Eater. And so I just filmed it for one longer video of the 7-day hunt. And then I did some vlog footage that we added with Eric and Brian's footage. And then we did a podcast on top. But, we're always playing around with things. But I think you're right, Eric. Like, we have to, at the end of the day, understand our audience, but understand what drives us to continue to create content and go that route. Because if we're enjoying what we're doing, I think the people at home are going to enjoy it more as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, Matt's plan to like put out both, I think is cool, because it gives the viewer the option. Like, if you want to watch the 7 days in a row and like really see like what was going on behind the scenes at camp, etc., watch it, enjoy it. Thank you. And if you want to watch, the cinematic slow-mos, music, straight to the point type of style, you can enjoy that too.
I like a good mix of both too, man. I just, like the Find a Way style of video of Daniel's hunt. I love that. I could tell such a cool story. It's easy to consume. But I think the hunt and the experience dictate, the type or how, the way you could share it. And I think maybe that will be more of the case this year. Is like, we'll have to make the decision on the fly of how does this best, what's going to make us the most excited on how to share this, right? And it depends on, I think, the hunt. I think there's going to be some times where it's going to be there's so much great stuff, it's going to be like a day-to-day type of a deal. And then we may not have it, we may find like another one where it's like, man, this would be really sweet if it was just like a continuous 60-minute clip or video sharing this experience. And I don't know, we'll have to wait and see how it goes. But I'm a big fan of both. I think it's so important to just let the story tell the story and not try to and that's the beauty of doing it the way we're doing it. And a lot of guys are doing it now on YouTube. There is no red tape. And I say that in relative terms, like, we don't have any parameters we have to try to hit. There's no time parameters. There's no, oh, you can't share that because you didn't have a kill shot in it. There's none of that garbage that you would deal with on the networks. Now, obviously there are some things within, YouTube and certain other big tech platforms that are creating some challenges, be it, after the kill, the butcher, the shot, some of that stuff, depending on the title and the thumbnail. Like, it's a real thing. It's getting flagged. It might get restricted. There's various components that are making it more challenging, and it's not really giving the viewer, in my opinion, like the overall greatest experience, because there's some stuff we're not able to really share like we'd hope to share. But overwhelmingly, we don't have somebody telling us it's got to be this many minutes and you got to, check these boxes, which I think is great.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked to you guys a little bit about it before, and we kind of even did an Instagram poll, but part of the problem with YouTube, like Ryan was saying, is just like they are taking some of that freedom away from us. You know, we used to show a lot of butchering stuff, a lot of how to like gut an animal, short quarter an animal, you know, do the boneless method or whatever. And that's kind of being taken away from us. So we've asked you guys in the past, and it's something we're still considering or wondering if it would be something that you guys would like. And I think the poll was overwhelming that you guys would, but like if we did a paid or a subscription or some sort of thing like that, where we control 100% of our content, we own it. And so it would be like you know, the viewer would have to pay a couple bucks a month to view our stuff, but you would have no ads. We would have no restrictions on what we were allowed or not allowed to show. And I think, like Brian said, it would be a better experience for the viewer at home for sure.
I'd be a big fan of it just to avoid the ads. I freaking can't stand the ads, you know. It doesn't matter if it's on network television or if it's on YouTube. Like, it's so annoying especially when I'm really engaged into a piece of content or whatever. I just want to get like, let me keep watching it. That to me would be a big turn on of why I'd be interested in it.
Here's the whole thing. If you guys at home don't understand how YouTube works, is YouTube is a 60-40 split. So everything that, you know, say our video makes $10, they give us $6 of that and they take $4. So they're always going to promote in the algorithm videos that are going to make more money, videos that have a lot of ads. So if we didn't put any ads on our videos, you guys wouldn't be getting delivered these videos. You know, it's already become very difficult with YouTube. Before, if you were a subscriber and you got we put up a new video, you'd get an email that a new video just went up, or you get some kind of notification. And you can still choose to do that, but a lot of people don't. So the reason we have to put ads on our videos is so they're getting delivered to you guys.
And I would just I would add to that in the essence that most of the time we try to edit those down to just a very minimal amount.
Yeah.
But naturally YouTube defaults to just like an overly absorbent amount of ads. And sometimes we forget to go in there and edit those down. So our apologies if you've ever jumped into a video and you're like, what in the absolute hell is going on right now? Why are there 47 ads in a 12-minute video? That is not us. That is a YouTube default. And we forgot to go in and revise it and edit it. But there's something to that. The algorithm is a real thing. It's hard to like unravel the mystery of how it works or why it works. And some examples, you know, you'll put up two videos that are very, very similar in style, in length, in outcome. One will absolutely go bonkers and have like so much traction, and the other one will just be dead and dormant in our library, just sitting there all sad. It's like no traction. It's like, why? It doesn't make any sense. And we've talked to so many people across various platforms. Nobody has a freaking clue of what the magic secret sauce is. I think there's a component of geography that is a real thing, you know, like those channels that are residing further to the east, where there's just flat out more people in the US, I think have an easier go of it than those of us out west, where there's fewer people, certainly fewer Western hunters. That's been something that has been, I think, you know, an area that we've seen some consistency in. But outside of that, man, I don't really know what it is. And we've tried everything. You know, the theory is they've got all these tools that you can use, right? So if you like have an end screen and you have, you know, like the correct title and the correct thumbnail, like all these things are going to help get it out in the distribution channels. And to Casey's point, years ago, a lot of the views were consumed by those folks that actually subscribed to our channel. And over time, YouTube has gotten further away from that. And they're really on these videos that take off, they're pushing it into the suggested videos, and they're getting it over a bigger audience that doesn't subscribe to your channel. And if you look on the back end of the analytics, that's where you can really notice it. And for whatever reason, you know, nobody can understand like what is the difference between a video getting suggested out to the bigger audience that isn't subscribed to your channel versus, you know, one that is so similar in every aspect, but it just didn't. Nobody knows that. I don't even think people at YouTube know that, frankly. We used to have like a great contact at YouTube, that's gone. So there's nobody to talk to. There's nobody to ask questions to. You're just like trying to figure it out. And it seems to change quarterly, at least, like just when you think like, oh, maybe we have something figured out here. Nope. No, you don't.
It's such a
Very
funny
bizarre.
conversation because this is true on every platform that we play in. So Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and now even TikTok. We're constantly, trying to figure out the algorithm, and it's funny, right? Because we want to figure it out to get more views. We want to get more views to support the channel. We want to support the channel because ultimately the more views, subscribers, followers, etc., that get to hear our message about our why. And so, yes, we want to get views, we want to get subscribers, but it's this battle of the algorithm of like, why did this video seem to get boosted so highly and this one not? And that's just something that we're constantly trying to figure out and play with the ultimate goal of just getting more people to our business and our message. Whether it's on TikTok, just to grab someone's short attention, to get them on YouTube to see a longer version video, but they're all basically saying, and this is why you'll see a lot of content creators across platforms say, hey guys, thanks for following, please comment, please hit the thumbs up, please do something, because those potentially boost the algorithm. And that's why everyone's constantly bringing it to your mind to like, hit the thumbs up, do something to help get this video out.
I think to clarify that too, like we want quality followers. We just don't want like the number doesn't matter. Like, and I'd say when we started this, which also goes back to the first semi-live, I remember vividly driving home with Casey in the truck, and we had a conversation. We had just barely kind of come together as a group of three, and very early on in this, and it was a fun hobby, and we talked on that drive, which was 6 hours. We posed the question, like, do you think that our Hush channel could ever become something to where we would be able to do this for a living? We didn't have any Instagram followers back then. No, I mean, we had like maybe 10,000 or something. It was very, very minimal. Instagram was barely even like a thing. We had maybe, I don't know, under 100,000, certainly, subscribers on YouTube, like quite a few under probably. And it was very new. We had virtually no merchandise, no website presence. It was just the beginning of this dream, this startup idea we had. And back then, the goal was never one of, we have to have a certain amount of followers and views. And it was none of that. It was just like, hey, we're doing something we love. We think it's cool. We're passionate about what we're sharing, and hopefully others feel that and see that. And no doubt, like after that semi-live series, there was a lot of positive feedback, and that certainly was helpful to hear that, and kind of be reaffirmed that what we felt and were believing was being, reciprocated to people watching it and consuming it. But we had that conversation of, man, would this channel ever get to a point where it could like actually support us doing this for a living? And Casey and I didn't have the answers at all. We speculated and hoped and thought maybe, but we're also realistic in the essence that, man, it's probably not that likely to be, to be real. I was working a full-time job. Like Eric was just getting going, kind of like as the first full-time person at Hush. Casey was doing his family stuff still, and that was like how he supported himself. And so we were never chasing popularity. We were never chasing followers. It wasn't about that. We created the why that we've had, which if you followed a long time, you know what those are. It was to inspire new hunters and anglers, to raise some awareness about conservation issues, habitat issues, hunting access issues. And the third was whatever size platform we could create, whether it stayed small in raw or it grew to something bigger. We wanted to be good stewards of our community and give back and be positive influences. Like those were the three reasons why we started the brand. And it's crazy again to see like what has become of it over these last 5 or 6 years. But we want, quality folks that appreciate and engage in the content. It isn't about just a number, because I think there's a lot of arguments that I'd rather have like 1,000 real quality folks that are engaged with the brand and appreciate what we're doing than 100,000 just kind of randos out there, just not engaged, don't really care. They're just a number, right? Like quality is always better than quantity, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, we have to, like, as frustrating as YouTube and the algorithms and all that can be at times. And we've done a pretty good job talking amongst ourselves. That, like, you know, it's just, it really is just a number. Like, you know, we have 375,000 subscribers, which I'm very grateful for every single one of them. But it's the people that really engage that in our stuff and comment and, you know, watch our videos, that, you know, that's why we do it, for those people, right? You know, and that's, like Eric was saying earlier, that's the message we're trying to send, and that's why we want to grow this, so more people can hear our message. Number 3 whys, and you know, be inspired hopefully to get out and hunt or fish or enjoy the outdoors. But yeah, it can be frustrating at times. But at the end of the day, man, like, we're very fortunate. We're very grateful for all you guys listening today, for sure. And you know, we're always just trying to make this thing better. You know, I think that the semi-live series was something that we did, an idea we had, and we did, and it was really cool. And so we're always looking for that next thing that you know, you guys would want to watch, for sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Eric.
I was just going to say, like, touch on the business side of this thing a little bit, because that is a big piece of the puzzle, you know, with what we do. We have to make it a business. It has to make sense in order us to have the amount of time to go create the content. But one thing I was proud of after we did the semi-live series, which really put us into that, for those who kind of don't understand the industry, that was all done in November, early-ish mid-November, which launches us right into the season where a lot of companies at that point in time in their annual year are trying to make marketing decisions for their next calendar year. And I was proud of us because we just followed through with and did exactly what we said. We would make a video every day, and it turned out to be 11 videos. And back then, again, we were always in comparison from TV. And if I understood correctly, TV series would come up with 12 episodes a year. Does that sound about right?
It's
Something
pretty,
like
yeah, it's pretty similar. And then there's some reruns and whatever, but realistically around that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like really proud and gained a lot of confidence that we just produced 11 videos in 11 days. And at the time, our channel was probably producing maybe 1 to 3 a week. So, you know, going into some meetings moving forward, I was proud to be able to present, hey, we just did 11 videos, you know. So sometimes these companies are paying a TV show or whatever to partner and get these 12 episodes with their product. And just for example, let's say optics. So we can now say we just had 11 videos that have gained hundreds of thousands of views with a very high percentage of positive comments, you know, people asking questions, people being engaged, people being supportive of the platform. We just produced 11 videos. You know, these are the type of conversations moving into the business side of things that we can be like, I mean, that was in 11 days, we produced 11 videos that showed your optics, right? And that was something that I felt gave us, you know, gave me like a boost of confidence to start going into some of these meetings and starting to talk about a partnership that would make sense with some of these companies. Because here we are. I mean, they would always ask us, like, how are you valuable? How do we know? And our rebuttal was always like, well, the views speak for themselves. The comments speak for themselves. Like, we're literally getting hundreds of thousands of views in 1.5 weeks of content.
The crazy thing too, back then was everybody was heavily invested from like an industry sponsorship partnership standpoint in television and then in print. Neither of those offer much analytics. So if you're a business person, you're digging into the numbers, like, is my investment in this partnership, this relationship, this TV show, is it valuable in brand awareness? Is it valuable in, you know, potentially moving the needle and gaining people visiting my website, which then as a company could allow me to try to like sell my product to them? There's really no way to track that back in the day with television. You know, the networks would pitch that, oh, a sportsman's channel is in 3.2 million homes. which if you're old enough, you would understand there's this thing called the Nielsen ratings, which I believe was developed probably in the 50s. And they would send you an envelope in the mail with usually it would have a gift of $1 bill or something. And they would ask you some questions about your television viewing habits, right? And they're taking a sample size, a very small portion of this, filling it out. So whoever filled it out, because they got guilted into it, they sent me $1. All right, I'll fill this thing out. But it was predominantly geared towards main network television, ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, right? Doesn't really dive into the new era of cable television, which has way more television channels to view, right? If you're a subscriber of Dish or DirecTV or Comcast, something like that, you've got hundreds of channels to select from now. And it certainly wasn't geared towards the little old outdoor channel, sportsman's channel, pursuit channel. So a lot of these pitches for shows would go to a company in the hunting industry that's trying to gain a sponsorship. And they'd say, hey, I have a show on the pursuit channel and I'm in 3.2 million homes. Well, that's great, but that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean 3.2 million people are consuming A, the pursuit channel, and B, your television show in particular, particularly if you're maybe a newer up and comer show, you have a terrible time slot and you're being shown at 2 a.m. on a Wednesday, nobody's watching you. That's the reality. And same thing for print. How do you understand? Yeah, you have a certain amount of magazines maybe in circulation back in the day, but how do you really understand that somebody viewed that one-page ad that you put in some magazine publication? You don't really have a way to collect that data. On the contrary, you have this new digital platform owned and operated by Google, one of the largest companies around, pretty solid at analytics. We could go on the back end of these videos in our channel and really have fantastic data from the demographic to the age, to the location, to the device type, to the minutes watched, to you name it. Overwhelmingly accurate data. Again, in contrast to we're in 3.2 million homes, but yet the industry wasn't quite ready for that conversation. They weren't as receptive as you would have imagined.
Yeah.
But we could argue that we have cold hard data. And we also would pitch the idea that somebody made a conscious effort to select our video and press play. Now, they may have only watched it for 20 seconds. They may have watched it for longer, but it would give you your average duration time per video. So we could go in with some pretty good confidence that, hey, these folks are watching our stuff, and here's all the information that backs it up. It's not just me pitching you, we're in 3.2 million homes. Because to me, that is such a vague, it has no relevance. But yet, very few companies in 2015 were willing to listen to us. So it was a battle. It was an absolute battle. And we were very, very conscious of what companies we wanted to partner with. It wasn't about just going out and getting somebody to give us money. Not the furthest thing from that. We handpicked the companies that we decided to partner with. And in some instances, we had to really get rejected and then come back again and get rejected and then come back again and eventually convince them that it was worthy of them to partner with us. And I can say now, 6 years later, we're with almost all of those companies still, which I feel so great about, because that was another component of this business when we started. We weren't going to chase sponsor dollars, which was a rampant thing in the industry. You'd see it on outdoor television, right? One year, guys were wearing Nikon binoculars. Next year, he's with Bushnell. And well, why did he switch? The only reason he switched likely was probably because of money. We didn't want to ever be in that position. It wasn't important to us. We wanted to work with companies where we believed in the product and we believed in the people. And so we were super particular on who we approached. In a lot of cases, like I mentioned earlier, it took some time before we could gain their trust. And it's so crazy because the pendulum was so far pegged on one side to TV and print in that old world. Even though mainstream America back in 2015 was very much digital, the hunting industry is historically a little bit of a lagger. And now to like look at it in 2021, that pendulum has swung almost 180 degrees now to the digital side. And it's been great because I feel like we were a bit of a trailblazer in helping other people not have to go through those same challenges, right? So if a newer channel came along and was trying to work in the space, I think it was a way easier conversation. But being that we were one of, if not maybe the first 100% exclusive digital media hunting type channel, it was a real tough one.
Yeah, I mean, I give the outdoor industry props though, because once it started making that shift, it went pretty fast. I used to always say the outdoor industry is 10 years behind mainstream, but yeah, 2016 was tough. But yeah, like you said, once it made that switch, like Randy, he stepped 100% away from TV. And I remember him telling us that he had sat down with all of his partners, which I think he had like 10 or so partners at the time. He sat down with them and said, hey, I'm going 100% digital, and every single one of them bought into it. And I don't think they're regretting that decision today.
Yeah, I remember one thing that stuck out with me when we met with Randy is he told us, like, you guys are light years ahead of this industry. And he's like, I want to get on that train. Like, I need to figure that out.
The cool thing to me too is there was a real competitive nature to television. And so if you had a TV show back in the day, it was very uncommon for two TV personalities to ever work together. It just was so competitive. They were angling for the same amount of, sponsor dollars. There was a lot of probably ego involved from what we've heard and seen. And that's one thing I love about the digital platform. Like, I think it's so different. Like, we have so many great friends that do the same thing that we do, and nothing more than just absolutely huge fans of what they're doing, whether that's, born and raised, the hunting public, shed crazy. The list could go on and on and on for people to have channels, Randy, the Meat Eater crew, like you name it. Like, there's enough space for everybody on these various digital platforms. And it's just really fantastic to see so many people thrive. And another thing we kind of came up with early on in our days is, man, if we could have more people in the same spaces that we're in, that sure would be beneficial to not only all of us, each other, but it'd be beneficial to the companies in the industry. And frankly, it'd be beneficial to people consuming the content, because now they've got so many more options. And it's just, it's neat to see, the amount of new channels that have materialized in the last 4 or 5 years and the success that so many of them had. I mean, you look at like the Hunting Public channel is just absolutely thriving, and they were a little bit later to the game, but they're killing it. And, they came into the whitetail space and it was wide open. The whitetail space was wide open. Nobody was doing kind of something similar to what we're doing in that like niche genre. Everybody still kind of seemingly was doing television predominantly. And boy, did they capitalize on that.
Yeah, I met those guys, and I still don't know them that great to this day, but I met those guys at ATA, and they'd kind of come up to me and said, hey, we've kind of followed the Hush and we see what you're doing, and we're thinking about doing that. Like, any advice? And I just remember being like, we have talked about this so many times. We are just waiting to see who will enter the whitetail space and run with the YouTube and social media platform. And it was those guys. Like, they jumped on it and they didn't skip a beat, man. They hopped on and started just running the program. They've done such a great job ever since, and their channel's exploding. And I mean,
yeah, they're killing it.
You read the comments. That's one thing I love to do. Like, here's a channel, here's the videos. Like, let's read the comments and see what people think. And people love it, dude. People absolutely love it. It was time. Their timing was perfect. Their team is great. They continue to grow the team with different personalities. And yeah, it's been fun seeing them come into the space and just run with it.
Yeah, I remember early on after they'd started, they probably only had maybe like 6 months under their belt. But I remember looking at their channel and just thinking, man, these guys in not too short of time are going to be owning the internet.
Yeah.
And they've done a fantastic job, man. Like those things we talked about earlier, they did a great job at, the camera guys became personalities. They knocked down that fourth wall, and they just showed whitetail hunting in a way that had never been shown before, because it always just been on TV. And those guys were restricted, like Brian said, to 22 minutes of this is kind of how you have to show it. And these guys came in, and because there's a giant demographic of whitetail hunters, obviously, way bigger, way more than Western big game hunting. And so it was just primed for a channel like them to come in and to show it in a different way and crush it. And they've done a phenomenal job for sure.
It's cool because they have showed, like, they have a very much an educational component to their content. They're very, very relatable. And, you know, so much of what you saw on whitetail hunting TV shows was the kind of classic, you know, private farm, raising big bucks, food plots. And they're like the antithesis of that. They're literally doing the hang and hunt style out of a saddle or a tree stand, largely public land, virtually never over food plots, and kind of just like your everyday hunter. And I think it's just been, you know, received so well. I told them when I was lucky enough to kind of go out to Missouri and hunt with them back in 2018, I was like, man, in the next 12 to 18 months, your channel is really going to, your business is really going to explode. And it's been absolutely on par with that. I think you could say the same thing about the Born and Raised guys, which was another just really fantastic, cool experience. Those guys started back in 2007 making DVDs. And that was kind of, they were big participants in the Full Draw Film Tour, which Cody actually founded years ago, before he since sold that. But that's kind of where they initially made their mark, was they were early adapters in this, you know, concept of film and hunts. And they shared a lot of their stuff through the Full Draw Film Tour, and then did a bunch of DVDs. And kind of we're in like a place of like, what are we going to do next? And I know Casey and I were, and Eric were on a fishing trip with him, steelhead trip, because we'd met him in SHOT Show, and we're like, God, we got to do something together, man. And I had been aware of those guys for many, many years living in Oregon. And so we finally like got a trip on the books, and they kind of just same thing in the essence of like wanting to know more about the YouTube game and what it was all about. And finally through some conversations on that trip, they kind of agreed, like, we should probably try this. So Cody and Trent made a plan, and Trevor to get that thing kind of up and running and start similar to Randy, right? Migrating old content into their library catalog so they could kind of develop some good stuff. And then about a year later, Trent quit his job. He was a timber faller, had done that his whole life, multi-generational timber faller, on the Oregon coast. And we were out there for the first day he quit, which was in March of, I think, 2017, I think, is when he quit. And then obviously the Land of the Free series was kind of like really their jumping off point, where they made a huge amount of traction in, you know, 5 states, 50 days. It was so well received, and it was really enjoyable to be a part of those first 2 years of Land of the Free. But again, like, there's just so many cool stories of channels that are getting going and seeing just tremendous amount of success, and, you know, folks being able to do what they really love every single day is cool to see.
Yeah, I really like the Born and Raised story. Like Brian said, you know, we met them, and, you know, they really quizzed us about YouTube. And I remember sitting by the river one night with Trent and Trevor, and they're like, you really think we could make a living doing this? And I said, man, if we can do it, I think you guys could do it. And like you said, it was that next year they were at SHOT Show, I remember. No, they were at ATA, and they called me.
Yep.
And they were on the plane, and they're like, we have this idea. And their idea was basically to run a semi-live hunt series for like 40 or 50 days of their whole elk season, where they're going to travel around to 5 different states. And it's cool to see that they took like an idea. This is the great thing about the internet, is like, you can take an idea like a semi-live series and you can make it your own and make it even better. And that's what's happened a lot. I think it's cool to see that. And, you know, we might have been one of the first people to kind of show hunting that way. But, you know, I got the idea from just my brother, really. And, you know, the way my brother got to be so popular on the internet is he was 29 years old, and he had been making some videos on YouTube with his wife, and they had some success. But he basically decided he was going to film every day of his life for a whole year before he turned 30. And when he did that, man, it crushed. And so we just kind of took that idea and put it into the hunting world. And so it's cool to see these ideas and these ways of showing videos and making it kind of your own. And, you know, we're looking for the next thing, I think.
Yeah. What's the next thing, Eric?
I don't know, man. I think, I don't know. It's kind of, Matt had a good point. Again, he's got this, out of, this perspective from out of Hush. And he
Yeah.
was saying how once we started the series and other companies started to adopt that series and change it, make it their own, this is now the norm, right? So he's like, hey, when you guys speak of TV being cookie cutter, YouTube videos are kind of becoming cookie cutter. Like it's the vlog, it's the daily series. So how do we like reinvent the wheel? Like, I don't know, man. We're always thinking, I think all of us here are always trying to think of the next best thing or the next style. And I don't know, I kind of battle between like what we talked about earlier, daily videos, series videos, polished videos, or a combination of all three.
I think the next stepping stone, if it was ever possible, and I'm sure it is somehow, some way, is to do a fully live hunt. And I don't know if, like I said, I know there's cameras capable of doing it, but where we hunt, there's not a lot of great service sometimes. But
I bet you see that in the whitetail space though sometime
yeah,
sooner.
I had like a farm that's not far from his house. He could set up a camera to broadcast live. That's for sure.
So I'm going to throw this out there. I swear one day people will want to and be able to purchase virtual reality hunting experiences through us that they can put on the goggles, and we would have to film with cameras and technologies during a hunt and somehow recreate that footage into virtual reality, that someone can watch it there. And just like they were you or me in a tree stand, they can look left, they can look right, they can hear the buck walking in. So I know it's like a far-fetched thing, but who knows, man, with technology, like someday, I swear.
How many years out, Eric? We talking like
After a
2, 3?
catalog,
We talking like 10, 12?
dude, it can't be 2 to 3. I think like 5 to 10.
5 to 10. Hey, we're sending people to Mars, like it's not that far fetched, right?
It is. It's hard to think, like, how can someone, have an experience? I don't know, man. It's crazy to think, but I swear someday we're going to be selling like downloadable hunting episodes that you can watch in goggles or like virtual reality or whatever.
Super interesting.
Which is weird.
Yeah. I know one thing, like over the last 6 years, it's been incredibly humbling to be a part of this business, this community, this kind of network of like-minded folks that we've been so fortunate to interact with. Whether you guys have followed us along on YouTube channel or Instagram page, maybe you've joined one of the trade shows we've been at and come and said hello, and maybe grab something from our website. It's just absolutely unequivocally one of the coolest things we've been able to be a part of. And the giving back thing just continues to resonate. Like we've presented so many opportunities where I feel like we're just a conduit to someone who needs a little extra help and a community that's willing to help. And we can be oftentimes like the voice of that and the support that so many people in our network, our community, our group of friends, followers, subscribers has lended in those instances is really just honestly one of the greatest things we've been a part of. And I think hopefully you understand how much that means to all three of us, 5 of us, and we'll be able to continue to do that and just be this conduit for making stories known that could use a little bit of attention, support. Just been a neat thing to be a part of.
Yes, man, I'm super proud of what we've built. The community that we're a part of, I always say the hunting community is the best community. I stand by that. I feel like the hunting community has given us the opportunity to live this lifestyle, make this a business. Just super excited to kind of move forward, adapt, and continue to offer information, education, entertainment, and just somewhere for people to come and be a part of a community.
Yeah, I agree. I'll echo what Brian and Eric said before we wrap this up. But all these amazing things that we've been able to do, the opportunities we've had to give back, to take somebody on a hunt, just help somebody out. It's all because of you guys at home that supported us over the years. Like Brian said, if it's, watching our videos, commenting on posts, buying something from our website, none of this is possible without you guys. And we just want to tell you how grateful we are for you and for all the support over the years. But guys, we're gonna
Fall's here. Fall's here, guys.
I was just about to say, we're gonna be diving into the fall real quick. So we're gonna try to keep these podcasts weekly, but no promises moving forward because things are gonna get fast and furious quickly.
Just remember, guys, you only get so many opening days. Cherish these, cherish them. They're special. Hope you guys have a super successful fall, however that's defined in your eyes. And again, thank you guys for the continued support over the years. So grateful for everything. And we'll definitely be looking forward to sharing some of our fall adventures here in the near future.
Yes.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks for watching the Hushlife podcast, guys. We'll be back at you next week.